Hop said in his email that his wife was home that day he discovered his wife's secret. She was in the next room. Let's go. My life had always been straightforward, uncomplicated and devoid of unnecessary drama. I was a man of simple needs and desires, content with my wife and our stable life together. At least that's what I thought before. That fateful day when my world was turned upside down, it started innocently enough with me going through a box of old electronics to declutter our living space. I never imagined that rummaging through the remnants of our past would lead me to uncover a heart-shattering secret. I stumbled upon an old Kindle Fire tablet that we hadn't used in ages, driven by curiosity and a sense of nostalgia. I decided to power it on, not knowing that my life would never be the same again. The tablet came to life and I began to sift through its contents, finding a mix of old books, pictures and apps. Everything seemed ordinary until I stumbled upon a hidden folder that contained evidence of my wife's infidelity. I couldn't believe my eyes. She had cheated on me with a mystery man. 3 weeks before our wedding, the anger that coursed through my veins was unlike anything I had ever experienced, but I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I decided to dig deeper. I downloaded an app to back up the information on a tablet to my computer and printed out all the evidence I could find, making sure I had a physical copy of everything. My background in the tech industry had taught me how to uncover hidden information. And I knew I would need more than just the evidence on the tablet to get to the bottom of this. I decided to go over our phone bill as far back as I could because the Fire tablet had an LTE connection with Verizon. It was tied to our cell bill. And after scouring the records, I came across an unfamiliar 917 area code number. We lived in Texas and most of our friends lived here too. So it seemed odd. My anger propelled me to dig deeper into the mystery of the 917 area code number. I spent hours on end searching for any scrap of information that would lead me closer to the truth. I knew that my background in the tech industry would be an advantage in my quest, but I never imagined how far down the rabbit hole I would go. My research led me to find that number belonged to a cell phone with the New York area code. The more I discovered, the more my heart sank and the more questions I had. Was she still cheating on me? Who was this mystery man? The process of investigation was grueling and it took a toll on me. I found myself losing sleep and becoming increasingly obsessed with uncovering every detail of my wife's betrayal. Despite the emotional turmoil I was going through, I managed to keep my emotions in check in front of her. She must have sensed that something was off. But I didn't let her know what I had found. Our relationship had already been deteriorating, with our once passionate love life reduced to a mere memory. The thought that her infidelity might be the cause of our diminishing bedroom life gnawed at me, and I knew I needed answers. My determination to discover the truth was unwavering, and I spent every spare moment I had searching for answers. My wife and I had met when I was 24 and she was 25, and we had been together for 3 years before getting married. We were young and in love with no children and a shared dream of starting a family. One day we have built a life together. But now that life was crumbling around me, all that was left was a burning desire for the truth and a sense of betrayal that threatened to consume me as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months. My investigation took me deeper into the mystery of the 917 area code number. I couldn't let go of the nagging feeling that there was more to the story than I had uncovered so far. My skills in the tech industry served me well, allowing me to piece together the puzzle. That was my wife's betrayal. I utilized every resource at my disposal to get closer to the truth, and my persistence finally paid off after what felt like an eternity of searching. I finally uncovered the identity of the mystery man with the 917 area code. He was an ex-boyfriend from my wife's past, a ghost from a time before I knew her. My initial reaction was a mixture of relief and renewed anger. Relief that I had finally found the missing piece of the puzzle, and anger that she had brought this man back into her life while we were planning our future together with newfound determination. I confronted the man. I was prepared for a fight. But what I got instead was an open and honest conversation. He told me everything: how my wife had sent him a friend request on Facebook, how she had pursued him, and how their affair had unfolded. He insisted he didn't know she was married and that she had never worn her engagement ring around him. My heart ached as he recounted their secret tryst and shared the lies she had told him. The man revealed that my wife had suddenly ended their affair, leaving him confused and hurt. He suspected that there was more to the story. So he had done some digging of his own. He found out that she had gotten an abortion while they were seeing each other. And the timeline suggested that the pregnancy could have been mine. The weight of this revelation was almost too much to bear. I asked him why he was being so forthcoming with me, and he explained that he didn't want to be involved in a situation like this. He told me about his own past, how his mother had cheated on his father when he was a child and how that experience had scarred him. He didn't want to cause anyone else the same pain that he had felt. He even offered to testify on my behalf if I decided to go through with a divorce. After the conversation with the other man, I knew that my marriage was over. The anger that had fueled my search for the truth was now accompanied by a deep sense of loss and sadness. I had lost my wife, my best friend in the life we had built together. The only thing left for me to do was to pick up the pieces and move on the decision to divorce. My wife was not an easy one, but I knew it was the only one I would have never found out. If I didn't turn on that tablet, I couldn't stay married to someone who had betrayed me so deeply and lied to me for so long. I contacted a few attorneys in the area to explore my options and to get a better understanding of what the divorce process would entail. I also reached out to the real estate agent we had been working with and informed her that we were no longer in the market for a house. My life was about to change drastically, but I was ready to face it head-on throughout this ordeal. I had kept my emotions hidden from my wife. She had grown increasingly suspicious, sensing that something was off but never knowing the truth about what I had discovered. My plan was to confront her once I had all my ducks in a row, ensuring that I had taken all the necessary steps to protect myself and my future. I confided in a close friend who was just as shocked by the revelation as I was. He agreed that I needed to leave my wife and offered me a place to stay until I could find a new home. I waited for the perfect opportunity to make my move. One night when my wife was scheduled for an overnight shift, I knew I had the time I needed to pack up my belongings and leave our apartment. It was a difficult and emotional process, but I couldn't bear the thought of staying in a place that was filled with so many memories of our life together with the help of my friend. I moved out of the apartment and began the next chapter of my life. The day after I moved out, my phone was inundated with calls and messages from my wife, friends, and even my mother-in-law. They all wanted to know where I was and what had happened. I knew that I couldn't keep the truth hidden any longer. So I sent a group text to everyone explaining that our marriage was over because my wife had cheated on me. 3 weeks before our wedding. I also mentioned that a court date was pending. The response to my message was immediate and overwhelming. My phone went from blowing up with calls and texts to radio silence. It seemed as if everyone was shocked by the revelation and unsure of what to say or do. My wife continued to try to contact me, but I ignored her calls and messages. I needed time and space to process everything that happened and to come to terms with the end of our marriage. I went to a lawyer's office and filed for divorce, providing all the evidence I had gathered and explaining the circumstances of the case. The lawyer assured me that the evidence along with the testimony from the other man would make my case strong. I was grateful for the support and the knowledge that I was taking the necessary steps to protect myself and my future. 6 weeks later, my wife was served with divorce papers and their hearing was set. The reality of our situation seemed to hit her hard, but I didn't allow myself to be swayed by her tears or her pleas for forgiveness. I knew that I had to move forward for my own sake and for my own healing. On the day of the divorce hearing, my wife didn't show up. She hadn't hired an attorney, and her absence led to divorce being granted by default. I was officially a free man. Surprisingly, after the divorce, my ex-wife made no further attempts to contact me. She disappeared from my life. As suddenly as her betrayal had appeared in the aftermath of the divorce, I focused on rebuilding my life. It was tough at first. But with time and the support of my friends and family, I managed to regain my footing. My career in the tech industry flourished and I eventually found a new home, a place where I could start fresh as I moved on from the pain and betrayal of my marriage. I realized that I had become stronger and wiser through the experience. I learned to trust my instincts and not to ignore the red flags in a relationship. The anger that had once consumed me slowly faded and I found peace in my newfound independence. I vowed never to let the actions of my ex-wife define my future. Instead, I embraced the lessons learned from my past and looked forward to the promise of new beginnings. In time, I opened my heart to the possibility of love again, knowing that I deserved happiness and a partner who could be true to me. The end of my marriage marked the start of a new chapter in my life, and I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with renewed strength and resolve. With every passing day, I found myself growing stronger and more confident. I rediscovered old hobbies, pursued new interests, and connected with friends who provided invaluable support. During my healing process, as time went by, I realized that I was not surviving but thriving. Rebuilding a life that was even more fulfilling than the one I had left behind. 2 years after my divorce, I met someone who would change my life in ways I could never imagine. Her name was Belinda. And our connection was instant and undeniable. From the moment we met, I knew that she was someone special, someone with whom I could share my life and my heart. Despite the fear of being hurt again, I found the courage to let her in. And together we embarked on a journey that would bring joy, love, and healing into both of our lives. But Linda was everything I could have hoped for in a partner: compassionate, loving, and supportive. She understood the pain of my past and never judged me for it. Instead, she helped me to rebuild my trust and love and in the goodness of others. Our relationship blossomed. And before long, we decided to move in together and start building a future. As a couple, one of the most significant milestones in our relationship came when we decided to adopt a dog together. We have both always loved animals, and we felt that adding a furry memory to our family would bring us even closer together. We visited a local animal shelter and fell in love with a lovable mixed breed named Max. He quickly became an integral part of our lives, filling our home with laughter and joy. The years that followed were filled with love, happiness, and growth. We traveled, explored new hobbies, and even began talking about the possibility of starting a family of our own. Our love for on another deep end. And we became inseparable, a true partnership that brought out the best in both of us. 4 years after meeting Belinda, I asked her to marry me. I was nervous, but I knew in my heart that she was the one with whom I wanted to spend the rest of my life. When she said yes, I felt a sense of joy and contentment that I hadn't experienced in years. We planned a small intimate wedding surrounded by our closest friends and family. As we exchanged our vows, I knew that we were starting a new chapter in our lives. One that will be filled with love, happiness, and the promise of a bright future together. Our marriage was everything I could have hoped for. And more, we continued to grow and learn from one another, supporting each other through the ups and downs that life inevitably brings. We also welcomed a beautiful baby girl into our lives, a testament to the love and commitment that we shared. As I looked back on the journey that had brought me to this point, I was filled with gratitude for the lessons I had learned and the strength I had gained from my experiences. My past has shaped me into the person I was today, and I knew that I was a better husband, father, and friend because of it. My story is one of heartbreak and betrayal, but it is also a story of resilience, hope, and the power of love. Through it all, I discovered that I was stronger than I ever thought possible, and that even in the toughest times, there was always a light at the end of the tunnel. In the end, my journey brought me to a place of happiness and fulfillment that I never could have imagined. And for that, I am eternally grateful. I would like to add, shortly after my divorce, many years ago, my ex-wife was fired from her job and she was evicted from her apartment. Last I heard, she was living with her sister.